Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I'm audible. I'm visible. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Hardeep, I don't know. World history, whatever batch it may be, I will be there only. So, whatever batch it may be, I think morning batch is going on with Chetan sir. So, once international relations and world history come in tandem, 15 plus 10. So, if he's in morning, I will go into morning first. Then I think October I'll go into evening. Great, Mahima. Very good. Welcome back. Good to see you. We'll wait for 2-3 minutes, then we'll start. We are now entering module number 3. Yeah, we are entering module number 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes. This is module number 3. 4, 5 is Mughal India. Or rather, we are entering module number 4. I don't know which. This is 3, I think. Yeah, 3. Then 4, 5 is Mughal. 6 is Marathas and Sikhs. And 7 is your Bhakti and Sufi. No issues, Hari. You will just have a little bit issues with regards to Nayankara, but no issues. You can see it later. Importance of Raichur Doab. It is the most fertile area in this sector. Agriculturally very important, lot of revenue generated. Okay. So we are now discussing Vijayanagara Bahamani. As I told you, 1336 for this, 1347 for this. Now, we were discussing different rulers at this point of time. And our discussion was revolving around Sangama, Suluva, Tuluva, and Arividu, the 4 dynasties. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we understood why did it be so problematic for the Vijayanagara Empire to not go north, because whilst they were going south, whilst they were expanding towards the south, the Bahamani rule came through in the north. Therefore, that did not allow for the Vijayanagara Empire to go north. So they were able to control the tip of the peninsula, but Deccan sector went into the hand of the Bahamanis. We'll discuss that. The rulers which established this empire, Harihara and Bukkavan, are the ones. Now, let's talk about the rulers itself. See, Umera, yes, I'm there. Sir, are you there? Yes, I'm there. Refresh if you can't see me. Right. So, when we talk about Vijayanagara, there's a political angle, but the most important is the administrative angle. When we talk about the rulers in Sangama dynasty, You have two important rulers, Devaraya I and Devaraya II. I'll take it, Sushmita. Now, very simply, when we talk about 1 and 2, the most important thing which happened to Devaraya I was that other than making a small, what we call as aqueduct basically means a piping system which allowed the Vijayanagara state to become, or Vijayanagara capital to become a little bit more greener. Water was something very important. His second important moment was being defeated by the Bahmanis. Firoz Shah Bahmani, one of the greatest rulers of the Bahmani kingdom, defeated Devaraya I, and there's a reason for that. Because till Devaraya I or till Devaraya II, there was a very standard policy. And the policy was that they will be communally conscious when it comes to the army, which is that the Vijayanagara state rulers only recruited Hindus into the empire, because Bahmani is a Muslim empire and Vijayanagara is a Hindu empire. So their thing was, we will only recruit Hindu soldiers, Hindu archers, everything Hindu. And that actually became a weakness for the Devaraya I or Vijayanagara state, which Devaraya II actually realized. The single most important thing which Devaraya II did was not to look at the religion of the soldier, but to look at the merit. And when Devaraya II, against all the traditions he had seen previously, he allowed for Muslim mounted archers to get recruited by Vijayanagara Empire and asked his Hindu generals and his soldiers to learn from them. The moment Devaraya II allowed that to happen and introduced it as state policy, now there was no defeating Vijayanagara Empire ever, because they learnt that if you tend to go with the secondary identity of a soldier, then you will always be weak. This is a very important very important point you need to understand, because as an administrator, as a future IS, as an aspirant, merit matters, but talent equally matters. Secondary identities don't matter. So till the Vijayanagara state was communally conscious, they were weak, but when they were able to transcend that problem, they became extremely powerful. And that is why Krishnadevaraya's army and his navy, along with his what we call as archers, were one of the best in this sector, because they started to import a lot of horses in that regard. So when we talk about Devaraya I, the simple point is that he allowed for certain issues to persist, but that was not true of Devaraya II. So before we do that, I'll just add to what we've done till this point. The prosperity of Vijayanagara state was based on the fact that they had control over trade, which was connecting them through Arab merchants to the what we call as the West Asian sector. They had, from spices to textiles to precious stone, everything was very simply controlled and traded in a very good way. External trade was actually their strength. And we already know that there are three major dynasties, and the last being Arividu, which ruled over them. And we also know that Sangama rulers Harihara and Bukka were the ones who actually, the sons of Sangama, that is why they're called Sangama dynasty. Harihara and Bukka were the ones who established this dynasty. With the rising power, they came into conflict with the Sultans of Madurai, and that in turn led to problems, and that only by 1377 they were able to establish their control in the tip of the peninsula. Now, when we come to the discussion of Devaraya I, after a period of confusion, Devaraya I comes to power. Early in his reign, there was a renewed fight for the Tungabhadra Doab with Firoz Shah Bahmani, And in that, Firoz Bahmani won and took 10 lakh huns. Huns is the currency of the Bahmanis, and pearls and elephants as indemnity. He constructed a dam on the Tungabhadra so that he could bring the canals into the city to relieve the shortage of water. It irrigated the neighboring fields also, and we believe that this single-handed thing which he did, the dam, allowed for the whole Vijayanagara capital city to flourish quite well. We also know that Devraya too got to know about this issue from the fact that Devraya I was very badly defeated. Remember this point, though you don't need to remember because UPSC asked a question this time on this, which is that who made a dam on the Tungabhadra to irrigate the fields in Vijayanagara Empire? This was asked in the examination, and it's a random thing which UPSC asked, but we had done it in class 2 to 3 months before, and whoever had gone through the PPT little bit closer got that question right. So sometimes these so small things also sometimes are able to give you that 2 marks easily. So this was the question that who built the aqueduct between the Tungabhadra and which irrigated. I'll show you that question also when we'll do the previous year questions. Now, Dev Raya too knew that the superiority of the Bahmani army was their sturdier horses and mounted archers, and therefore that is why he enlisted 2,000 Muslim archers to or and cavalrymen to very simply become a part of the Vijayanagara Empire, and asked his Hindu soldiers and officers to learn from them, and that became the game changer for the Vijayanagara state itself. Thereafter, till this point, everybody is with me. No issue. Political history. When I'll come to Nayankara, I will discuss with you what really matters. Yes? Okay. Now, this is a very important map for you because please do look at it from time to time, because this will also allow you to answer any question of historical geography, because sometimes these small things can matter. For example, on which side which important city is? Kanchipuram, Mauslipatnam, Thanjavur, Ramanathapuram or Rameshwaram, Madurai, Quilon, Kochi, Calicut, Cannanore, Mangalore, Goa. As it is, you would have to know this because of Portuguese and modern India. But see, Vijayanagara, and you have Kolar, Mysuru sector, and you have Golconda, Bijapur, Bidar, Warangal. Very important cities. Go through this map will generally help you understand historical geography better. So look at it from time to time. It is going to be useful for you generally. Now, Devraya 1, Devraya 2, aqueduct getting defeated by Firoz Shah Bahmani. Devraya 2, single important act, add Muslim cavalrymen and mounted archers to the army. Now comes the Suluva family, Suluva dynasty. There are three rulers here: Sulva Narsimha, Tirumal Narsimha, and Imadi Narsimha. Founder, self-explanatory. This I will tell you who is Nasra Nayaka. This is a local power intermediary. I will discuss you. There was a major rebellion. But the most important for you, again, which came in the examination previously, that it is under Imadi Narsimha's reign that Vasco da Gama landed at Calicut. Though Calicut did not come directly under the Vijayanagara state, Calicut came under whom when Vasco da Gama reached? Calicut came under whom? Not Kalinga. Zamorian. Zamorian. Zamorians were actually very simply, in a way, feudatories of Vijayanagara state, which I will discuss with you. So Vasco da Gama came when Imadi Narsimha was basically in power at Vijayanagara. Now comes the most celebrated, the most important ruler of the Tullavas, which is Krishna Deva Raya. Now, by the time Krishna Deva Raya actually comes to power, Vijayanagara state had become very powerful and Bahmani was starting to decline. And he was able to use the decline of Delhi Sultanate quite well. By 1509, 1529, total chaos as it is, and Lodhis were in the rule. But he did three very interesting things. Firstly, he went into an agreement with the Portuguese over horse trade. So he had a very good supply of Portuguese, what we call Portuguese controlled horses. Further, he was able to expand quite rapidly. From Tungabhadra Krishna, he took the Raichur Doab, then he took even the Odisha sector. Then he was able to inflict certain damages to the Bijapur sector also. And he remained very, very confident about his prospect when it came to war itself. The second interesting thing was that he taxed according to fertility. So the people of his kingdom were also very, very happy, because if you have bad fertility, he took less from you, or if you had very good land, he would take more from you. He abolished also unnecessary taxes, which is, for example, marriage tax, which is if you're getting married, you pay a tax itself, and was able to bring in through irrigation a lot of different sectors which were previously not under agriculture. And that is testimony, or there is testament to this very simply through the different travelers which came at this point of time, Nuez, Pais, and Barbosa, and they talk about the efficiency of Krishna Dev Raya. Now, when it comes to political history, these are the four rulers which you need to remember, and I'm devising it with you. You have Devraya 1, Devraya 2, Imadi Narsimha, and Krishna Dev Raya. Devraya 1 gets defeated, Dam. Devraya 2 add Muslim archers and cavalrymen. Third, Imadi Narsimha, Vasco da Gama, and Krishna Dev Raya. Unnecessary taxes gone, fertility taxes, and Portuguese understanding for the trade in horses itself. Very good trade was able to expand. Anybody has any issue in these four rulers and their basic facts? You want to read further? Very good chapter in Satish Chandra. I have told you what really matters, and no questions coming beyond it also. So are we clear with regards to what have we done till this point? Horse trading, see, Avni, he had two options. He would have taken it from the Bijapur rulers. He would have taken it from anybody else other than the Portuguese also. But Portuguese gave him a very good deal. And that in turn allowed him to have a very strong, firstly, Portuguese presence in his court also. And also over and above that, you also have very good quality horses which the Portuguese were actually trading in. So he had very good cavalrymen, which is horsemen. Yes? Clear? Yes, great, perfect. Right. Now, okay. Okay. Now, can I talk about Nayankara? Because now this really matters. This is what actually we are here for. We can? Yes. Okay. Nayankara system based on Nayaks. That is why the word Nayankara comes. Backbone of Vijayanagara Empire, along with another system which is called Igar, which I will discuss with you. Now, to understand Nayankara, we need to do one thing, which is revise Ikta. Now, please pay attention. I am discussing Ikta with you right now. Delhi Sultanate, Ikta. Divided the whole empire into two parts. What is the first part? What is the first part? And the second part is Ikta. Thereafter, this is nothing but crown land. money, revenue directly to the state, central treasury. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, Mukti Wali. This is nothing but a revenue assignment given to an officer in lieu of salary. And the concept is very simple: non-hereditary, transferable, and what we call as non-permanent. You have to do general administration, revenue administration, law and order. Thereafter, army maintained, and excess revenue to be sent to the center. This is what is Ikta and Delhi Sultanate. Non-hereditary, transferable, non-permanent. Yes. Anybody? There should be no issue. You all consented to the fact that you understand this. Ikta is clear? Ikta is clear? Yes, no, have to say something. Okay. So now let's discuss Nankara. Before I do that, very important point. There is, firstly, in this system, revenue, if excess, flows to center, and most important, the salary decides Ikta. Am I right in saying this? Am I right in saying this? Yes? Okay, very good. So now let's talk about Nayankara. When I talk about the Nayankara system, the whole Vijayanagara Empire was divided into two parts. One, crown land, and there's no word for this, crown land. Revenue is collected from revenue is collected and sent to the imperial treasury. So central treasury, direct flow. Is this different from Ikta in any way, or what we call as Kharaj in any way? Is this any different? Any different? So this should not be a problem. If you are saying that you understand Ikta, then Kharaj and this should be totally clear. Exactly the same. Now, the rest of the empire was divided into what is called Amra. Amra is nothing but that is why this system is also called Amar Nayaka system. It is also called. Amra is the land. Is the land. Amra is the land which is allocated to Nayaks or military chiefs, who give service to the Vijayanagara rulers. On allocation of Amra, general administration, revenue administration, law and order, and army contingent has to be maintained. Now tell me one thing. Are these two slides the same till this point? They're exactly the same. Till this point, Ikta Nayankara looks like a photocopy of Ikta. Exact same concept, but the names changed. Yes, but there are two differences. Two differences. Two. No flow of excess revenue. The allocation is not based on salary but loyalty, and there is transfer of annual tribute to the rulers to show loyalty. But the most dangerous thing which was there in the system, it is permanent, hereditary, and non-transferable, with exceptions. Certain cases they can transfer it. So very simply, Nayankara system somehow forgot that the strength of the system of the Delhi Sultanate was not the way they divided the power, was because it was non-permanent, hereditary, and transferable. Now tell me one thing. Isn't this basically a feudatory model? Isn't this just a feudatory model? Amra land is written land. So very simply, the Vijayanagara state looks like this. You have the Vijayanagara rulers, under whom you have the Nayaks, under whom you have the people. Nayaks, Amra land is allocated. Ruler is too weak to destroy, but strong enough to control. And Nayaks send annual tribute to show loyalty, but Nayaks not powerful enough to overthrow kings. And Nayak in a way accepts overlordship, overlordship overlordship of a ruler, decentralized Isn't this the best example of suzerainty? Like this, what can you not understand? See, I try to understand this point. You first tell me, Hardeep, uh, Tagdiz, do you understand Ikta? First tell me this. Then there are three very outstanding features of Ikta: non-hereditary, transferable, non-permanent. And Ikta is given on salary and revenue, it goes to the center. However, in Nayankara system, everything is the same except for the fact that it is permanent, it is hereditary, it is non-transferable, and there is a show of loyalty through tribute transfer. So if I actually look at the empire in the right sense, there are local intermediaries. These are local intermediaries who actually control the real power, and Vijayanagara rulers only have symbolic power. Tribute means peshkash, some amount of money is sent to the state, to the center annually to show that I'm still loyal to you. So very simply, this is a truly decentralized suzerainty based model, and therefore the tribute is not fixed, it is on how much you want to give. Amra is the name of the land, like Ikta is the name of the land, it is Amra is the name of the land. That's it. So Amra is the name which is given to the land which is allocated. Ikta is the name which is given to the land which is allocated. Is this making sense? That if you understand Ikta, take out of Ikta minus non-hereditary, non-permanent, transferable equals to Nayankara. Is this making sense? Basically, this was making sure no decentralizing tendency. But Nayankara is a decentralized model with the weakness inbuilt into it. Now, can anybody give a wild guess how the Vijayanagara Empire was destroyed? Or how Vijayanagara Empire declined? Can anybody tell me how? Ishfaq, I said this aspect has exceptions. NCRT line, I know. This is the line you will quote me. I know. You will give me this exact line. This. In certain cases, they are also transferred. This is this line you will give me. I know. This is exactly the same thing which is written in the NCRT. But not in all cases it happened. It is an exceptional thing which used to happen. Kings occasionally asserted their control over them by transferring them. This is the line. Ishfaq, yes or no? This is the line you're reading with the class itself. Nayaks are going to usurp power. Fragmentation, yes. Weak rulers, successors take advantage. Yes. Feudatory mentality, yes. Very good. Nayaks broke away, yes. Ishfaq, yes, I know you are reading this line. I know that this is PNCRT line only. So before you do that, first understand the point. The point is Ikta minus everything equals to Nayankara. And as you all actually argued, Nayaks broke away, and that in turn led to the decline of the empire. And now, do you get the context of this? Narsara Nayaka. Basically, during Tirumala Narsimha, Narsara Nayaka, a Nayak called Narsara, actually rebelled. And therefore, in turn, it led to this issue. So, the point is the greatest strength of the Vijayanagara Empire was also its biggest weakness. Till the ruler is powerful enough, he can hold on to the Nayaks, but the Nayaks will eventually break the empire. And that is something which is because of the fact that everything good about the Ikta system was removed from it. Make sense? Is this making sense? Nayankara system. Can I presume now you know Nayankara system? Come on, you have to be more, you have to tell me if it is making sense. I can bring it down to one more notch if needed. If it's not making sense, repeating is a separate issue. Not making sense is a separate issue. Okay. Yes. Right. Now, just to quench the thirst of Ishwak, the Nankar system was an important characteristic of the Vijayanagara political organization. Among those who exercised power in the empire were military chiefs who usually controlled forts and had armed supporters. These chiefs often moved from one area to another, and in many cases were accompanied by peasants looking for fertile lands on which they wanted to settle. These chiefs were known as Nayaks, and they usually spoke Telugu or Kannada. Many Nayaks submitted to the authority of the kings, but often they rebelled and had to be subdued by military action. The Amar Nayaka system was a major political innovation of the Vijayanagara Empire, which is technically not true. It is likely to have many features which were derived from the Ikta system of the Delhi Sultanate itself. This is more accurate. Thereafter, the Amar Nayakas were military commanders who were given territories to govern by the Rai. Rai means ruler, and they collected taxes and other dues from peasants, craftsmen, and traders in the area. They retained part of the revenue for personal use and for maintaining stipulated horses and elephants. The contingents provided Vijayanagara kings with a fighting force if needed. Some of the revenue was also used to maintain temples and irrigation works. The Nayakas sent tribute to the king annually and personally appeared in the court to express their loyalty. Certain times they wanted to assert their control, so they transferred it also. However, in the course of 17th century, many of these Nayakas established independent kingdoms, and that in turn led to the central imperial structure to collapse. Yes, yes, no, makes sense. Yes. Please have to say something. Same exact thing I've explained to you. If you understand the concept of Ikta, Nayankara should be just your standard corollary of it or something which comes out of it. Okay. Now, the Vijayanagara Empire, the most decisive battle is called the Battle of Talikota. And the Battle of Talikota, which happened in 1565, here what happened was that the successors of the of the Bahmani states, which I will discuss with you, came together and in a way destroyed the central power of the Vijayanagara Empire or the Tuluvas, and thereafter the Vijayanagara Empire very simply started to shrink, and the Arividu dynasty ruled over whatever was left. The Battle of Talikota is when the Bijapur, Ahmednagar, Golconda, Bijapur, Ahmednagar, I'll tell you where they come from. Golconda and Bidar very simply defeated the Vijayanagara rulers. And thereafter, Vijayanagara rulers became more or less a footnote in the area of this, or in this basic area in that regard. Before we end this discussion of Vijayanagara, we also have to discuss a system which was basically under the Nayankara system. Everybody is clear with Nayankara? Yes? Nayankara, Battle of Talikota, nobody has no issue. Nayankara, yes? Okay. Now, under the Nayankara system, there's also one more thing which is called 1565. You have the Aegar system, sometimes also written like Aegar system. Now, what basically the Aegar system is that in every village, there were three very important appointees: headman, watchman, and accountant. And very simply, they were appointed by the Nayaks. The Nayaks used to appoint them. But what was interesting was that they all became hereditary and received land as payment for service. Basically, the Nayakas replicated the same model which they saw at the top, wherein you have the king, the Nayak. At the lowest level, they also did the same thing. They, watchman, headman, and accountant, which is that they replicated it. It was a system of hereditary control. This was a very important system because this allowed for village administration to go very well. So they are village servants and functionaries. The irony was that certain families were given this position. Headmen were mostly Reddys and Maniams, accountants Karnam and Senobhava, and watchmen were mostly the Taliaris. They were given a portion of plot in the village, and in very, 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 very rare cases, they were also given money, but mostly they were given plots which were called manya, and that was a tax-free land grant given to the Senobhavas or to the headmen, to the accountants, to the watchmen for the services which are there or which are to be rendered. So, very simply, you have the Raya, the king, then you have the Nayak, who is the military chief, power intermediary, and then you have the headman, watchman, accountant. And what is common to these three? All of them are hereditary and get their they get land in lieu of service. Done? Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Come on. Okay. Now, one slide for your examination. One of you asked me, I think Shamishta asked me, do we need to remember the travelers? Yes, you have to. See, because Vijayanagara state was connected through maritime route, and after Imadi Narsimha as it is, you have the Vasco da Gama, after that flow of a lot of maritime, what we call as travelers. So you see multiple people coming through, but the floodgates will mostly open after Imadi Narasimha. So you have under Dev Raya two, Conti and Razak who came. Thereafter, you have Virupaksha Raya, under which Nikitin came. Nikitin was a very interesting personality, which is that he came to India thinking that there was no horses in India. He's a Russian, so he brings one horse with him to sell in India. Ironically, he got robbed of that horse and actually also got mugged in the Vijayanagara state itself. But he went to to Virupaksha Raya, and he said to him that I'm a Russian traveler. My horse has been sold. Nobody's giving it to me. So he was given justice. He was given his horse back and sent back to Russia, saying that we have a lot of horses. Don't worry. Thereafter, in the early 16th century, we have Verthema. Under Krishnadev Raya, the three most important, Barbosa, Pius, and Nunes, and last Firdichi came under Tirumala Dev Raya, one of the last rulers of the Vijayanagara Empire itself. Look at it, but don't have to die over it. You can learn this, but one of the last things which you do, I will do this with you in art and culture also. Other than that, we know the way the whole empire was divided. Mandalam, province, Nadu, district. Under a Nadu, you had the Sthala and then the Grama. So this is the way it was there. The currency of the Vijayanagara Empire is pagodas. Huns was used by the Bahmanis. Taxation rate based on fertility. Amaram or Amara is the land which was allocated to the Nayaks. This is the words which you need to know. Last but not the least, as I told you, Vijayanagara state was very particular about its water resources, and they used the landscape very well to very simply make water channels which never existed. Can anybody tell me before I go to Bahmani, what area does the Vijayanagara Empire take vis-a-vis geographically? What are the two ranges here? You have the you have the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. And the Vijayanagara sector was in such a way that there was a lot of difference between the altitude of certain areas. So what they used to do was they used to use the slope very well to allow water to flow and create natural channels. So what they used to do was that on the top of a hill they used to make certain reservoirs through which during rain it used to get water, and then they used to flow it down to the Vijayanagara's capital city or to Hampi also. Hampi being the next most important city, Hampi and Vijayanagara that way got a lot of interesting irrigation work. Still today, if you go to Hampi, you will find how they use the elevation change in the Western Ghats very well to very simply channelize water. You also have this very interesting excerpt of Pius who talked about how tanks were made. So you can read this and see how they were fascinated by how whole hills were broken down to allow water to flow. This only shows you that water resources were very important for the Vijayanagara state generally. So before I go to Bahmanis, Raja is in touch with local. No, Hardeep, that's the point. This whole structure is decentralized. The Raya only controls the Nayak. Nayak is the one who's connected to the village level. So before I go to Bahmani, is everybody clear about Vijayanagara? Come on. Yes. Vijayanagara, what have I taught? I'll repeat for you also. We've discussed the concept of polity, Devraya 1, Devraya 2, Imadi Narasimha, Krishna Devraya, Nayankara system, Aigar system, water resources, travelers. Anybody, any issue? More revision, obviously Sunday. You whole day I will teach you 3 modules. So obviously you need revision. That's a separate issue altogether. That is the point of a weekend batch. I do a lot of things with you. You revise over the weekday. Are these three basic points clear? Everyone? Three basic points clear? Okay. Now let's talk about the Bahamanis. Sometimes it is like this also. Bahamani, both are correct. Now, when we talk about the Bahamanis, they were the ones who emerged in 1347 north of the Vijayanagara Empire. It is believed that Hassan Gangu, Alauddin Hassan, actually used to sit in the Dargah of Nizamuddin Aulia, and he used to interact with and has interacted multiple times with Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And Alauddin Hassan knew that Muhammad bin Tughlaq was a little bit problematic when it came to his policies, and therefore he was just waiting for the right time. And by destabilizing the empire, Alauddin Hassan was able to capture power, subdue the local iqtidars, and also he employed quite a lot of the soldiers who Muhammad bin Tughlaq had raised for 1 year and then thereafter left. So there was a lot of infusion of soldiers out of the Delhi Sultanate into the Bahmani kingdom, and that is why Bahmanis were quite strong initially vis-a-vis Vijayanagara. There are multiple rulers here, but the most important ruler is Firoz Shah Bahmani. You have Muhammad I, you have Muhammad II in between. Firoz Shah Bahmani is considered one of the most important personalities when it comes to cultural contribution. Within him, Firoz Shah Bahmani. Firoz Shah Bahmani had a prime minister and his name was Mahmud Gawan. And Mahmud Gawan and Firoz Shah Bahmani were like a very good combination. Both allowed for the Bahmani sector to culturally be very important, but also gave a lot of stability to this sector. So, when we talk about their rulers, Alauddin Hassan established the Bahmani kingdom. He was succeeded by his son Muhammad I, and it was under Muhammad Shah I that the Harihara Bukka conflict started, and Bukka was defeated by Muhammad Shah I. Muhammad Shah II thereafter started to develop a little bit of friendly relationship with the Vijayanagara Empire, built a lot of madrasas, mosques, and hospitals in this sector. But it is the most important ruler, Firoz Shah Bahmani, who inflicted the most heaviest of defeats to the Vijayanagara Empire, which is basically the Devraya I defeat. He, however, was equally competent in cultural zones, new understanding of logic, geometry, botany, Quran, jurisprudence, religious sciences, very learned man that way. And he wanted to make the Bahmani sector the cultural capital of South Asia. Very good calligraphist, used to write very beautifully. He knew different languages: Persian, Arabic, Turkish, Telugu, Kannada, Marathi. And he also wanted to make Deccan the cultural center of India. But the most important thing which Firoz Shah Bahmani did, which basically was done similarly by Devraya too, the problem of the Bahmani kingdom was that they did not have good revenue administration. And that was because, again, before Firoz Shah Bahmani, they were communally conscious and they only employed Muslim accountants at this point of time. However, when Firoz Shah Bahmani came to power, he realized that employing only Muslim accountants will make no sense. Rather, the Deccani Brahmins were very good in managing accounts. That was a very long hereditary task which they used to do. And the first thing which he did was to make sure that Deccani Brahmins were added to his revenue administration. And once he transcended, unlike his successors, communally, what we call as branding their administration, he very simply started to induct Hindus, and that led to large scale changes in the administration. So, what Devraya to do to the Vijayanagara Empire, Firoz Shah Bahmani did to the Bahmani kingdom, which is Both are testament to the fact that you will remain weak if you look at the religion of a person. It is the competence of that community which really matters, or that the person which matters. Therefore, both when they went for talent over secondary identity, actually were able to become very powerful. And the second most important person linked to Firoz Shah Bahmani is a person called Mahmud Gawan. Mahmud Gawan was, there's a belief that he's coming out of the African sector. Was also, there's one story which talks about him being an Iranian, but he was the one who took the empire to a next level. He was traveling, reached the Bahmani kingdom, and the Sultan was very impressed by Mahmud Gawan, and he gave him the title Malik ut Tujar. Thereafter, he became the Prime Minister of Firoz Shah Bahmani. He's the PM of Firoz Shah Bahmani. And he extended the empire. A lot of deep, what we call as raids into the Vijayanagara state till Kanchi. And he was also the one who was able to overrun the western sector, take parts of Dabhol, parts of Goa, and was very good in managing the trade with the Central Asian sector. So this is again a strength of Gawan, that very simply, or the strength of Firoz Shah Bahmani, that he had a very good prime minister. But the most important contribution of these two people, which we will discuss separately in art and culture also, is that Gawan built one of the biggest madrasas or schools in the capital of Bidar. It is one of the finest buildings which still stand today, which could house close to thousand teachers and students, in which free education was provided, free food was provided, and he even brought in specific Iranian scholars to teach in the Bidar Madarsa, which still today is a testament. It's like the Nalanda in that regard. How Nalanda, Vikramshila, Udantapuri are very important. The Bidar Madarsa is also quite important in that regard. So it is again considered a very important, very, very important contribution of Gawan and Firoz Shah Bahmani. Last but not the least is what is the administrative setup. In the administrative setup, again, fortunately, there's no Nayankara system. Nayankara system is specific to the Vijayanagara state. Here, he had multiple people, a Vakil, Prime Minister, Wazir. Basically, Vakil was Mahmud Gawan. Wazir, Dabir, you don't have to learn this. Do not learn. But the only thing which you need to learn is how were they dividing the whole empire. Muhammad I used to divide the empire into 4 provinces. Term is Ataraf, which is Daulatabad, Berar, Bidar, Gulbarg. But when Mahmud Gawan came, he said these are too big a unit. So he divided the 4 into 8 and now changed the term to Taraf, from Ataraf to Taraf. Salaries given sometimes in cash, sometimes in land. So it could also be given as land, sometimes could be given in cash also. So before I take a break here and then go into Sayyads and Lodis and the story of what we call as the simple story of Mughals, let me summarize what we've done. We've discussed Vijayanagara, we've discussed Bahmani. Bahmani, Alauddin Hassan founder, Muhammad I, Muhammad II conflict, Firoz Shah Bahmani, Mahmud Gawan together, most important. Cultural contribution, Bidar Madrasa. Ataraf is a word which was used for province, which was later changes to Taraf. Taraf means direction. Under Muhammad I, it was 4. Under Mahmud Gawan, it was 8. No concept of Vijayan, no concept of Nayankara, salaries paid in cash and inland. Anybody has any issue in this discussion? Because nothing more needs to be known about Mahamanis. Never has a question come from this sector itself. No? So now can I take a break here? And when I come back, I have to give you one master timeline, the successors of Bahmani, and 2-3 very important discussions we need to do. So do not leave the session after this break. So I am giving you a break here. Vijayanagara Bahmani done. So it is what? It is 6:35. We come back at 6:45. After this, we go on till 8 back to back. See you. Sangam and Sangama are different. Sangama is Sangama. Sangam age is different. Okay, welcome back. All refreshed, charged again. Last one in the 1 hour 10 minutes. Come on. Sangam and Sangam are totally different. No connection. Please don't. A can change a lot of things, Shushmita. Okay. Can we begin our discussion? A taraf concept, very straightforward. Both refer to province only. One was used by Muhammad one. The other one was used by by Mahmud Gawan. That's it. A taraf province is called Bhukti. Same thing. Okay. Now, before I go to Mughals, I want to give you multiple timelines. Can I do that? Yes. Because this is going to be very important discussion we have now. Yes. Okay. Now, I'll give it to you. I want, yes, Firoz Shah Bahmani. Yes. Please pay attention. This is like the master timeline of medieval India in the way that you will be able to understand everything which is happening henceforth. So we have 1206, 1350, not even 1350. We have 1336, 1347, 1350, 1415, 1450. I'm basically giving you a master timeline before I go on further. Thereafter, a very important set of dates: 1490, 1492, 1518, and 1572. The importance of, let's remove this one. The importance of these dates is that they all represent very important moments. This is establishment of Delhi Sultanate. Thereafter, 1336, Vijayanagara Empire. This is Bahmani Empire. 1390 is decline of Delhi Sultanate. Sultanate starts. 1414 is Sayyids. 1450 is Lodhis. And what happens is that the Bahmani kingdom declines. The Bahmani kingdom declines. Bahmani declines. And it gives birth to multiple dynasties. And in 1490, we have Bijapur, Berar, Ahmednagar. In 1492, Bidar, and in 1518, Golconda emerge out of the Bahmani kingdom. If you remember, or if you have any idea, these five are going to play very important role in Mughal politics in their Deccan policy. And Golconda you have reference to even in modern India. In what context do you have reference in modern India? Golconda? Modern India reference, Golconda. Not fort, not mines. Very important reference. Not Bijapur. Golconda, what context? Come on. Students who have done modern India. Yes, Neha. What is the name of that? What is the name of that? Yes. Have you heard of this? Modern India people. Golden Farman. Who gave it? Farooq CR is not Golden Farman. Golden Farman comes from Golconda ruler. Farooq CR is the other Farman, Magna Carta. Come on, who have done modern India, this much is expected. Golden Farman, Golconda, very important. For how many pagodas did the British get the rule or get the permission to trade for free? How many pagodas annually? Yes, very good. 500 pagodas. Very good. Okay, so I'm just revising with you these things. Now, this is the now what we have to cover very simply are these two Sayyads and Lodis. But I want to give you a master timeline, which is that when do these decline and when do Mughals come through? So, can I give you a master timeline? This is just to give you a basic timeline, and I'll write it down also. I'll write the rulers of Bijapur, Golconda, Bidar, Berar, and Ahmednagar here only. And we will thereafter go into the master timeline. So, Bijapur, you have a person called Yusuf Adil Shah, and they were called the Adil Shahi dynasty. Thereafter, in Ahmednagar, we have Malik Ahmad, and it was called the Nizam Shahi dynasty. Any question they ask you about them is out of this only. Thereafter, you have Berar, which is called Imad Shahi dynasty. Don't need to know the name of the founder. Thereafter, in Bidar, we have Qasim Barid I. And last but not the least, Kuli Kutub ul Mulk. And this is called the Kutub Shahis. So, very simply, this is the way they emerged. They all were part of the Bijapur, part of the Bahmani sector, and emerged out of it. Now, the most important discussion is the master timeline. Let's make the master timeline, and thereafter we move to understand the Sayyads and the Lodis. This is the, you don't have to write this, you will get it. Okay. Now, fourteen 1490, 1492, 1518. Now, thereafter, Why is 1526 so important? Why is 1526 so important? Importance of 1526? Very good. Which is Babar. Now come the interesting dates. The next dates are the dates of decline. So Berar was the first to decline by 1572. Thereafter, it was Bidar. It was Bidar, which declined by 1619. Then Ahmednagar. Then Ahmednagar. Ahmednagar. Thereafter, Bijapur. And the last to decline was Golconda, which declined in 1587. 1707 is the death of Aurangzeb, which marks the death, which marks the decline of Delhi, of Mughals also. Just to give you more precisely, Bijapur, Golconda, Berar, Bidar, Ahmednagar. Bijapur is 1490 to 1686. 1686. 1686. Golconda is 1518 to 1687. Berar would be 1490 to 1572. Bidar is 1492 to 1619. And Ahmednagar is 1490 to 1636. This is basically the area which we have to cover. We have reached till this point today, and I need to bring it till the first battle of Panipat. Bijapur, Ahmedabad, Golconda, whatever details you need is on this slide. We will now move to Sayyads if all of this is clear to everyone. If this is clear to everyone, we can move to 17, the discussion of Sayyads and Lodis. This will help you generally in understanding medieval India better, and I hope you are finding this useful generally. If you are, then I will shift our focus again. Yes? Everybody has to consent, please. Come on. Yes, no, have to say something because now I will change the orientation a little bit. Okay, great. So now our discussion moves towards the Mughal sector and very simply in what are called the pre-Mughal dynasties. Now, Mughal is two modules, 4 and 5, and has a lot of chapters which are there in Satish Chandra. 4 chapters for this module, 4 more for the next module, 1 in 6th class and 2 in 12th class. 1 in 7th class and 2 in 12th class. Very important, generally important for your preparation. Mughals, unfortunately, the NCRT chapters are now gone. So you have to rely on Satish Chandra plus the PPT. Satish Chandra plus the PPT. The NCRT chapters were for some reason removed. Now, let's talk about the pre-Mughal polities. And I have to tell you an important concept. Right. When we talk about, for this, I have these maps also. This has been repeated twice, same thing. We'll come back to this. Okay. Everybody's paying attention because now I start to branch out from Delhi Sultanate, Vijayanagara Bahmani to something bigger. Okay, very good. So you had the Vijayanagara here, Bahmanis here, and the Delhi Sultanate here. Now, as I told you, in 1398, from this sector came a person called Timur, and he sacked Delhi. And he sacked Delhi. Little bit too much towards the Indus. And he sacked Delhi. And whilst adding to his empire, Timur, by this point of time, used to hold a very big empire, which is called the Timurid Empire. Timurid Empire. It used to very simply expand or had control over a lot of parts of Central Asia. Just to give you a feel of it, this was the expanse of the Timurid Empire. So Timurid Empire was very big, and by defeating the last Delhi Sultanate ruler, Delhi was added to the empire itself. This is the period of 1398. But Timur had no intention of ruling it for a very long time. And what he did was that in 1414, he nominates a, a person called Khiz Khan and establishes only in very small part of in and around Delhi, whilst all of this was still part of the Timurid dynasty. He allows for his deputy Khiz Khan, having the Timurid dynasty here, he allows Khiz Khan to rule over Delhi, and he was basically a khula daran because they used to wear pointed caps, or they are called sayyids. So he ruled only the erstwhile area, which is very small area, which was used to be Delhi Sultanate. You have, by 1414, the Bahmani and the Vijayanagara Empire holding fort in the Deccan sector and in the southern sector. In Bengal, generally chaos is there. There is the Afghans start to rise in this sector. Afghans emerge in this sector, and it is basically modern day parts of UP, Delhi, and certain parts of Bihar, certain parts of Haryana, which basically Khiz Khan controls. What happens is that the Rajputs also start to emerge in this sector. So you can see that Rajputs and Afghans use the chaos of the empire generally to emerge again. Afghans had reached in Bengal because Afghans were appointed by the Delhi Sultans to govern over Bengal. So they were already there. They were again breaking away. They were breaking away from the Delhi Sultanate. Anybody has any issue till this point? Anybody has any issue till this point? No? So there are basically four rulers of the Sayyids who are related to the Timurid invasion. First is Khiz Khan, nominee of Timur, appointed and put in as the Sultan. One thing should be very clear, because he's not coming out of the Delhi Sultanate, so he's not part of the Delhi Sultanate. Sayyids are a separate phase itself, ruled over Delhi and surrounding districts. Then comes his successor Mubarak Shah, and he succeeded Khiz, but had a little bit of good expedition against the locals in and around Delhi. But he was later killed by his own nobles, because it was believed that Mubarak Shah was very, very weak. Mubarak Shah will be then succeeded by Muhammad Shah, and here Muhammad Shah will again come to the throne, very weak ruler, and will not survive the infighting. And his rule will be maximum Delhi and 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers around Delhi, and again more or less useless. He will be then succeeded by Alam Shah, and Alam Shah's deputy general Bahlul Lodi said to Alam Shah that you will not be able to do it. It's not your cup of tea. So do one thing. You give me power, I may spare you your life. And Bahlul Lodi, who's an Afghan, captured power in 1450 to establish the to establish the Lodi dynasty, which started to then consolidate North India. For the purpose of the examination, the only thing which you need to know is Khiz, Mubarak, Muhammad, Alam. The only thing which they ask is their chronology. Khiz, Mubarak, Muhammad, Alam. That's it. Very weak dynasty, have nothing to do. Muhammad Shah Rangila is totally different person. The simple point is, this is Muhammad Shah of Sayyids. So the Sayyids are not able to rule for a very long time in this sector, and with Khiz, Mubarak, Muhammad, Alam, very simply they are usurped by the Lodis. Now the point is, Bahlul Lodi is able to carve out, by adding the Bengal sector, a good chunk of North India. He and his successor Ibrahim Lodi and his son Sikandar Lodi, rather Bahlul, Sikandar and Ibrahim, were able to establish the Lodi dynasty here. So the Lodis, unlike the Sayyids, were not that useless. However, the southern sector, by the time we are talking about 1450, still Bahmanis are ruling in this sector. You have the Vijayanagara sector here. A new political structure emerges here against by a very, very celebrated ruler, and this will be a Rajput confederacy under very important personality, Rana Sangha. Rana Sangha. So the Rajputs will come together, and till this point, the Timurid dynasty is ruling, or the Timurid empire is there. So by 1450, you have the Lodis who are ruling. You have Lodis, Rana Sangha, Bahmani, and Vijayanagara. Now, if Sayyids are clear, I would like to talk about the Lodis, because then I create the pretext for the first battle of Panipat, a very interesting history generally. Yes. Now, there are three rulers of the Lodis. There are three rulers of the Lodi: Bahlul, Sikandar, Ibrahim. They are Afghans, and Bahlul was very quick to very simply remove Alam Shah, founded the throne by usurping power away. He started to expand the empire, generous and kind. But a very important thing about Behlul was, and this is something which the Afghans believe in. If you know about anything about Afghans, you would know that Afghans believe in equality amongst the tribe, because they're tribesmen. The prime minister is considered the first among the equals. Sultan is also considered first among the equals. Basically, nobody is bigger, but the Sultan is just the first among equals. So Bahlul used to give his nobles a lot of respect, a lot of respect. The people who used to advise him, lot of respect he used to give. However, his successors were not like that. Whilst Sikandar Lodi was a very, very staunch Sunni Muslim, very fanatical, very, very intolerant, he did a very big thing, which is that he shifted the capital from Delhi to Agra. Since the Chauhans till Sikandar Lodi, the seat of power had been in Delhi. He will shift it to Agra, and till Shah Jahan, the capital of the Delhi of the Indian political structure is then going to revolve around Agra. He also introduced a new type of measurement to celebrate his power, that it's called the Gaj-e-Sikandari. Very simply, a Gaj was further divided into 32 units. Nothing more you need to know, but that was a new type of measurement. But the problem with Sikandar Lodi was he was not that respectful to his nobles. This is the context in which Ibrahim Lodi comes into the picture. Ibrahim Lodi was very, very heavy-handed, used to rule like a sultan, used to humiliate his governors quite a lot, and the Afghan nobility hated him. And ironically, the one who hated him the most was a person called Daulat Khan Lodi, who very simply used to be the governor of his empire in the Punjab sector. In the Punjab sector. So Daulat Khan Lodi was the governor of this sector. Now, if you know who is Daulat Khan Lodi, if you know who is Ibrahim Lodi, if you know who's Rana Sanga, I would like to now talk about the reason why Babur came to India. I will consolidate and then talk about Babur. Can I do that? Ibrahim, Sikandar, Bahlul, Khiz, Mubarak, Muhammad, Alam. Anybody has an issue? All political history. I'm building up to 1526. Very, very important. Okay. Now, pay attention. You have the Timurid Empire here. You have Rana Sanga. You have Ibrahim Lodi. You have Rana Sangha, Ibrahim Lodi. Then you have Vijayanagara. State. And you thereafter have Golconda, Bijapur, Bidar, Berar, and Ahmednagar. And you have his governor, Daulat Khan Lodi, here. This is the basic situation in India. They are part of one basic political unit called the Lodi dynasty. And he is one political unit. These are multiple political units, and this is one political unit in itself. Anybody has any issue in the basic placement? Bijapur, Bidar, Ahmednagar are feudatories. Vijayanagara state will start to automatically disintegrate. Rana Sanga was able to capture power when Delhi Sultanate became weak. Ibrahim Lodi, I already told you, was successor of Bahlul Lodi, and Bahlul Lodi captured part away from from the Sayyids and expanded. So very simply, are we clear with regards to the political placement? Because now I want to tell you a story. Okay. Bidar is between Bijapur and Ahmednagar. That is not the right location. I've just put in there. Now, Daulat Khan Lodi hated Ibrahim Lodi. Rana Sanga fought with Ibrahim Lodi 2-3 times, but Ibrahim Lodi was too powerful. And Daulat Khan Lodi was just sick and tired of Ibrahim Lodi humiliating him, not giving him money. And now Daulat Khan Lodi and Rana Sanga realize or notice something. They noticed that at Kabul, a person was sitting. And that person was Babar. Babar is the successor of Timur himself. He's a Timurid. He's called a Timurid. And Rana Sanga and Daulat Khan Lodi go into an agreement that let's do one thing. Timur had the power to destroy the Delhi Sultanate. Let's call Babar to India and make him fight with Ibrahim Lodi. And once Babar will fight and defeat Ibrahim Lodi, we will divide the empire amongst us and Babar will send Babar back. He's the son of Timur. He's the son of Timur. So, which means that he has a lot of empire for himself, but he's a great king in that regard. However, the irony of this story is that Babar was not sitting in Kabul as a mighty king. He was literally starving to death and had become like a beggar. And this is a historical coincidence that at the same time Babar was desperate for political power, that Daulat Khan Lodi and Rana Sanga approached him to come to India. Babar's advent into India was a historical coincidence, but equally something where Daulat Khan Lodi gave the Lodi dynasty to Babar on a platter that you come. But the $1,000,000 question is, what is the ruler of Fargana, the sons of or the son of Timur, the mighty Timurid, doing in Kabul? So if you understand the internal situation and the context in which Babar entered India, I would like to tell you why was Babar sitting in Kabul like a beggar, Bhikhari. Why? Can I tell you that? Is this making sense? Babar comes and fights the first battle, which is the first battle of Panipat. But the question is, Babar was originally the ruler of Fargana. Fargana is very far away from Kabul. So what is he doing in Kabul? That is the $1,000,000 question. And if he did come to India, why did he not go back? That can only be understood if we understand the political situation in the Central Asian sector. So can I change our orientation towards Central Asia? Yes. Okay. Now, to understand that, you need to understand the Timurid dynasty. Now, very simply, Timur is one of the cousins of Mongol. So once a Mongol dies, what does he do with the empire? Once a Mongol dies, what is the rule under Mongolian tradition? distribution of the empire amongst his sons. This is what exactly Timurid also done, which is that Timur divided his empire into three parts. Now, Babur is the son of basically is the great grandson of Timur. He basically rules in this sector, which is called the Fargana Samarkand sector. But Mongols became weak after division of empire, and Timur also did not realize that the same is going to happen. As soon as he distributed the empire amongst his three sons, and multiple sons were given small areas in this Tashkent and the Fargana sector. In the first sector, from the north, came a very formidable power which is going to dominate the European sector also, and they were the Ottomans. The Ottomans, very simply, came from the north and captured this sector and made it their own. Then, in the second sector, another regional tribe came through from the north and removed the Timurid descendants, and they are remembered as the Safavids. And the Ottomans and the Safavids very simply were able to eject all of the descendants in this sector, and in this area from the north came a very problematic power, but later also part of the Indian subcontinent. They are called the Uzbeks. Uzbeks, very simply, now start to take this sector. And this is why Babur was sitting in Kabul. He was sitting in Kabul because once the Uzbeks come, they now start to hound the Timurid princes, which were all locked in this sector here. And Babur had no other option but to run away from the Uzbeks. The Ottomans dominated this sector, the Safavids dominated this sector, and now literally Babur had no other option to run to Kabul to save his life. So the reason why Babur was sitting in Kabul is not because he was ruling over that area, because he was running away. Now, if I bring both of these coincidences or both of these maps together, Babur is sitting here not as a king but as a beggar. And Daulat Khan Lodi and Rana Sanga had no understanding of the politics of West Asia at this point of time. So they rather thought that Babur was just there to maybe check out that sector or as a holiday. But Babur was actually running away, eating almonds and cashews to survive with a small army of 5 to 10,000 men. He was sitting there waiting for an opportunity, and that opportunity Ibrahim Lodi gave him because he irritated Daulat Khan Lodi so much that Daulat Khan Lodi will now approach Babur at Kabul. So now do you understand why did Babur come to India? Or what is the context in which Babur comes to India? Babur came to India not randomly. He came to India via invitation of Rana Sangha and Daulat Khan Lodi, along with his very pitiable, very bad situation in the West Asian sector also. So if we are clear about this story, I would like to talk about the first battle of Panipat. Can I discuss that? Yes? Does anybody want to add something, ask me something, anything? I encourage you to. Why Rana Sangha is supporting Daulat Khan Lodi? Because both of them know that they cannot single-handedly defeat Ibrahim Lodi. Ibrahim Lodi is a nuisance for everyone. And Rana Sangha thought that as soon as Ibrahim Lodi would become weak, he could usurp power from the areas and maybe defeat Daulat Khan Lodi. This is a miscalculation on the part of Daulat Khan Lodi also and Rana Sangha also. And you will see there will be a very quick reversal from Rana Sangha, which I will tell you in the next part of the story. If this is clear, we talk about the first battle of Panipat. Yes? Okay. Now, moving from Kabul, Babur is now moving towards India. As soon as he crosses the Indus, Rana Sangha meets Babur and is able to see that this is not the Babur they are thinking about. And he very quickly withdraws. He very quickly withdraws. Rana Sangha says, I will not help him because I think he's not the thing, not the person you're thinking. And more than that, he knew that Babur would not go back. So Rana Sangha, as soon as Babur crossed the Indus, withdrew his support to Babur, saying, Daulat Khan Lodi, you are mistaken. He is not the person you think he is. So Daulat Khan Lodi, foolishly in that regard, still supports Babur because Babur was his only solution to Ibrahim Lodi. Daulat Khan Lodi provides Babur with a small contingent. Maximum, the army of Babur would have been maximum 20 to 30,000 men. Now, if you are moving from the Lahore Jalandhar sector and moving towards Delhi, there are two mountain ranges in this area. Can anybody name the two mountain ranges for me? Two mountain ranges which come very close to this area. Not Hindu Kush. Both are Indian mountain ranges. Okay. Aravali. Other one would be, come on. Not Karakoram. Yes, Saurabh, very good. Shivaliks. The small range in front of the Himalayas itself. Shivaliks. Now, if I'm moving from this sector and I'm moving from Delhi sector, if you have ever taken the Amritsar Rajdhani or Amritsar Shatabdi, or if you've ever traveled from Delhi to Chandigarh or Delhi to Jalandhar, the place which comes just wedged in between these two is Panipat. The battleground was not chosen because it was Panipat, but because Panipat was the only area through which they both had to go through, and it was wedged between two hills which Babur wanted to have. For strategic reasons, Babur wanted a sector which had two hills on, or two hill ranges on the two sides, and he also was coincidentally entering from a sector which is like the entry into the Gangetic Plains. So if you have to enter into the Doab region from the Punjab sector itself, you have to go through Panipat. So the first reason why the battle is happening at Panipat is because of its geographical location, and Babur chooses it also in that regard. Now the irony of the story is a 20 to 30,000 army of Babur won over a 1 to 2 lakh army of Ibrahim Lodi. And that is the $1,000,000 question. How? How did Babur win the first battle of Panipat? And I would like to discuss that because of three very important factors and three important concepts in that regard. Can we discuss that? The three reasons are: first, use of gunpowder; second, the technique of war; and third is the nature of Lodi army. There's a very important point you need to understand. Babur did not introduce gunpowder, barood, in the Indian Indian subcontinent. Vijayanagara and Bahmani knew. Babur, however, effectively used gunpowder for the first time in cannons. I'll tell you what is the strategic advantage. First, understand this point. Babur did not introduce but use gunpowder for the first time. Vijayanagara and Bahmani rulers knew about gunpowder, but they did not know how to use it effectively. Babur used it very, very well. Now, if you agree with this and remember this point for sure, I would like to now tell how gunpowder, nature, and technique helps Babur win the first battle of Panipat. Yes, everybody is with me till this point. Yes, okay. This is called the Tulugma or Rummi technique. Something which is basically an Ottoman technique of warfare. Ottoman technique of warfare. Now, what Babur did was, because he had a smaller army, he reached the battlefield at least 4 to 5 days before Ibrahim Lodi. Rather than going forward, he waited. And Babur chose a very interesting sector. Babur chose a battlefield on which one side you had the Aravalis, and on the other side you had a small hill which is the Shivaliks. And Babur, coming from that side, used a technique which was never known to the Indian leaders, and generally to even Ibrahim Lodi. What he did was that he knew that numerically he will never win. So he needs to use his army better. So what he does is that in between the battlefield itself, he makes a wagon, what you call bullock wagon wall. Basically, he tied wagons together with each other, which you've seen. Bullock, you've seen the part which is on the back. He tied them together to create basically like an obstruction. He created like an obstruction. This is the wagon wall which he created. This is basically to stop the movement quickly when it comes to the front line. Then he digs up two trenches. He digs up two trenches on both sides. This much time he had because he had reached earlier because of his horse-based army, and Ibrahim Lodi was coming from Delhi in a elephant-based army. So his army was taking time to come to Panipat. Now, what he did was that he covered this part with leaves and put in spikes, which you would have seen for sure in some form of battle movies for sure. But on the other side, he covered it in such a way that he placed his archers. He placed his archers inside the trenches. So they were hiding inside the trenches. Then what he does is he keeps his tope cannons in the last sector, and he has his standard infantry here and two cavalry units here. But he keeps one regiment in the back. He keeps one regiment in the back, cavalry regiment in the back, which the Ibrahim Lodi cannot see. And what he does is that he divides this into two parts, and he sends one cavalry on this side and one cavalry on this side. Very simply, he has one whole tukdi, as we call it, or one whole sector regiment on the two sides of the hill. So he has infantry, cavalry cannons, and he has one small two regiments on the two sides of the hill itself. Now the battlefield is set. This is called the Rumi technique. Everybody's with me till this point, no issues. Yes? Yes, no? Okay. Now what happens is, he allows Ibrahim Lodi's army, he allows Ibrahim Lodi's very big army to come into the battlefield itself. And as soon as they come very close, the first thing which happens is that the archers will start to hit. The archers will start to hit the front. So now his army is fighting in the front. Very big army in that regard. Then he thereafter starts to use the cannons to send in big, very big explosive balls into the army which is in the internal sector. Once the cannons and the archers come through, cannon mean top. You have seen it for sure in your life somewhere, which has a projectile inside it. Come on. So very simply, the archers have now created chaos in the front. In the middle, the cannons are falling. And the most important technique, which now is called also Trishul formation, or is basically an Ottoman technique, what is called Rumi. These two regiments move out of the hill and attack the enemy from the back. And therefore, what very good effectively Babar is able to do, he is able to create one front here then one front here, one front here, and one front here. So now Ibrahim Lodi is boxed in. He is getting hit by the different projectiles which are coming. He is getting hit by the archers. And now his regiments have moved behind and is now fighting in 4 different fronts. In all this chaos, Ibrahim Lodi's army did not know what was actually happening. Cannons are hitting, archers are coming, mounted archers are there, very quickly moving throughout the sector. And Ibrahim Lodi is killed in the first battle of Panipat. And Babur, using very, very minimal, compared to Ibrahim Lodi, a very small army, to defeat a much bigger army through his technique, through gunpowder, and through the nature of Ibrahim Lodi's army. This is why Babur won. And this was just the beginning, because nobody knew how this technique actually worked, because it was never used in India itself. Makes sense? This is again all for your understanding. Nature of army is elephant based, that is why he lost. This is all for your reference. Nobody is asking you this. But I believe that you should know and deserve to know these things, which is how military tactics can change a battle itself. Now, if this is clear, we'll just move to 3 basic things and then we'll end for today. Rumi, very simply, 3 frontal battle, use of cannons. That is the basic thing. Okay. How gunpowder exploded? He used to tie a cloth over them, then gunpowder was used to propel it. That explosion also put in fire on the cloth and that went through. Okay. Green color means they have been covered. Okay. Now, after defeating at Battle of Panipat, he defeated Ibrahim Lodi, 1526. After defeating him, very simply, now Babur turned his attention towards Rana Sangha. Rana Sangha, he said that Rana Sangha betrayed me. And in 1527, Babur will fight what is called the Battle of Khanwa. The Battle of Khanwa, where he will be defeated by Babur. And Rana Sangha, before he went into Khanwa, defeated by Babur, when he went into the Battle of Khanwa, Rana Sangha asked all Rajputs to come together and fight. But you tell me, what was the answer of other Rajputs in this sector? Not my problem. And what is going to happen is, once Babur defeats Rana Sangha, he moves to fight the Rajput Confederacy under a person called Medini Rai. And at the Battle of Chanderi, 1528, all Rajputs will be defeated. Medini Rai will be defeated by Babur. And thereafter, Babur will go after whatever Lodis were left in what is called the Battle of Ghaggar or Ghaggara river, in which he fights the Lodis or Afghan Confederacy. And this happens in 1529. This is asked in the examination, PKCG. Panipat, Khanwa, Chanderi, Ghaggar. These are the first 4 battles which Babur fought. Battle of Panipat, Battle of Khanwa, Battle of Chanderi, Battle of Ghaggar. And he was able to move from Kabul into Lahore, fight at Panipat, take the Rajput sector, take the Delhi and Agra sector, thereafter take the Ghaggar sector, and very simply establish himself in North India. The implications of Babur coming to India were extremely important, because now gunpowder was very well used in India. Over and above that, a new mode of warfare was now known to the Indian subcontinent. And whilst after Delhi Sultanate there was a process of fragmentation, now the consolidation of Indian subcontinent will begin by Mughals. Now, before, I don't want to go further. Can you remember 26, 27, 28, 29? Panipat, Khanwa, Chanderi and Ghaggar. I want to just discuss the last point, which is, where does the word Mughal come from? Everybody's followed me till this point. Everything is the same, exactly what we have discussed. As I said, Ibrahim Lodi, Daulat Khan Lodi, Rajput Confederacy, Bidar Berar, Vijayanagara. Simple point, very simple point. The way it moves, why he was in Kabul, Central Asia, West Asia going through certain changes. Mongol Empire was breaking up, rise of Timurid Empire. 1492-94, Babur at the age of 12 came at Fargana. Uzbek danger was there, so he turned towards India. And therein comes the Battle of Panipat, Khanwa, Chanderi and Ghaggar. Now, last but not the least, this is the last point I will make before we end today, is that they are called Mughals. The word Mughal comes from the word Mongol. And this is the British distortion which happened. Mongol became Mughal, Mughal became Mughul, and Mughul became Mughal. Because the British were not able to pronounce British pronunciation. The British were not able to pronounce Mongol. So they brought Mughal. Mughal became Mughal. But ironically, if you look at any of the documents which were produced by the Mughals themselves, the Mughals don't call themselves Mughals. They call themselves Timurids. The Mughals are not actually Mongols. They are father side Timur, mother side Mongol. But for some reason, the British thought they were Mongols. So please understand this point very clearly. From father side, their succession is Timur, and from mother side, their succession is from Genghis Khan. So they are not basically Mughals or Mongols. The all documents from Babur, Humayun, Akbar to Shah Jahan to anybody till Aurangzeb, everybody calls themselves, I am a Timurid. I am a son of, or I am a grandson of Timur, not a Mughal. So please understand this point very clearly. This is a distortion of the history of Mughals itself, wherein they are basically not Mughals, they're not Mongols, but they're Timurs or they're Timurids. And this is the last thing which I want to show you, which is a very fascinating painting which was made very late, which is after, in the Aurangzeb period, which is the whole Timurid family, all the Mughals together. All the Mughals together. I'll just mark it just for your basic reference. So this is a miniature painting. Timur is in the center. This is Timur. And that is why they did not show Genghis Khan. If they used to call themselves Mongols, they would have shown Genghis Khan. They show Timur. So they're Timurids. And on his right is his son Miran. Is Miran, who is basically is his son Miran the first Mughal emperor, great grandfather. I'll go with reference to vis-a-vis Babur. So this is the great grandfather Miran. Thereafter, you have the grandfather of Babur, which is Abu Said. Then on the left you have Mirza Muhammad Mirza. Muhammad. Don't have to learn this. I'm just Mirza. He is the great grandfather. Thereafter, you have Umar Sheikh. This is the father of Babur. So basically, 4 generations. Father of Babur, Babur's father, Babur's father, Babur's father's father's father, and Timur is the 5th. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. Which is his father's name was nothing but Umar Sheikh. Then you have the standard culprits, wherein you have Babur, Akbar, and Shah Jahan, and you have Humayun, Jahangir, and Aurangzeb. Their number being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very beautifully they made it in front of each other. So Timur is also is not a grandson of Genghis Khan. He's a cousin of Genghis Khan. Not directly related to Genghis Khan. Mother side Mongol, because which means that, see, both have the same great grandfather. Tamannia Khan was a Mongol. One of the great granddaughters of Tamannia Khan married Timur. So he's basically like a brother-in-law to Genghis Khan. Right? So I hope that you find this interesting, that one painting was made to represent all of them. And it gives us very interesting history of the Mughals in that regard. Right? Okay. Done for today. When I come back next Saturday, we finish Mughal India and we do Marathas, Sikhs, and by next Sunday, Bhakti, Sufi, and medieval will be over. Right? So, thank you so much for being with me for the whole weekend and throughout this day. Thank you. Take care. I will see you next Saturday. Have a very great and productive weekday. I hope all of this made sense to you. A lot of things we did, revise it. It will be perfect in your mind. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.